Our working day, and I give the floor to the Slovak MP and former Minister of Finance of Slovakia, Mr. Ivan Miklos.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming for this press conference. Let me explain why I'm here and what was my program. I had two purposes, my 3 days visit in Kiev. First one was to have meetings with Prime Minister and with ministers of the government, not all of them, but some of them. And second one was to meet with representatives of the NGOs, with students, with members of the parliament, with chambers of commerce, members, businessmen, to speak about current Ukrainian situation, especially in economic area, and also about our experiences, how it is possible to use experiences from another so-called transition countries like Baltic countries, Poland or Slovakia, my home country. Yesterday I'm here on the program organized by Wilfried Martens Center for European Studies, which is supporting reforms in Ukraine by giving and offering experiences from other Central and Eastern European countries. And also I was here as part of the informal group of advisors who are giving advices to the Ukrainian government how to do reforms. This informal group consists from some politicians, as Andrius Kubilius, former Lithuanian Prime Minister, Miklos Zurinda, my colleague and former Prime Minister in Slovak Republic, then Anders Aslund, who is leading expert on economic transition, who is working with different Ukrainian government supporting Ukrainian reforms many years. He worked also in Russia and other countries. And then two professors with Ukrainian roots, but living in Canada, Oleg Havrilishin and Basil Kalimon. This group met yesterday Prime Minister, Finance Minister, Economy Minister, Agriculture Minister, Transport Minister, then Deputy Ministers at the Ministry of Finance, then CEO of the Naftogaz, and then also CEO of the Tax and Custom Administration. We discussed with many of people during these 3 days. Firstly, I have to say that I personally had very good impression from the professionalism and also preparedness of the members of the government by other high representatives to provide governments and to do what is necessary. We met also with members of the parliament from all coalition parties, and I felt also there at that meeting that there is ability and preparedness to go through the difficult period and to support reforms. Where is the problem is sometimes communication. I mean communication between government and parliament, and communication from the government and parliament as well to outside. Because what is necessary now is really to do reforms as quick as possible and as much as possible. Ukraine is, in my opinion, there are two news, one bad and one good. Bad news is that Ukraine is in a very difficult situation, a really desperate situation. But good news is that if country is doing reforms, and if these reforms are deep enough, comprehensive enough, and complex enough, then results are very quick. Slovakia is example. I can give you figures, but I don't want boring you by figures. But countries like Baltic countries, Poland, Slovakia did it, and we were far behind before, but now we are one of the best. For instance, Slovakia, after division of Czechoslovakia, had only 62% of economic level of Czech Republic. Now we are very close to the Czech Republic. Maybe next year, maybe in 2 years, we will have the same GDP per capita in Slovakia as they have in the Czech Republic. The main reason are reforms. Especially second Zurinda's government, where I served as finance minister, did comprehensive package of reforms They were prepared in 2003, and they started work from beginning 2004. In 4 years, between 2004, 2008, Slovakia achieved the highest convergence progress, even convergence jump. By convergence, I mean approaching to the level of the European 15, which means European Union 15, the richest countries in the Western Europe. During these 4 years, convergence progress in Hungary was plus 1%, in Czech Republic plus 3%, in Poland plus 5%, and in Slovakia plus 16% in 4 years, after doing really deep and comprehensive package of reforms. On this, I would like illustrate that reforms are not easy, but reforms really works if they are done really complexly and comprehensively enough. And this is my best advice also for the Ukrainian government. I see huge potential, and of course, Ukraine is in a very difficult situation also because war. But it is necessary to say that war is only additional argument for doing reforms as quickly as possible, because the situation is really difficult, but it is not a reason for diminishing or slowing down of reforms. On the contrary. And let me, at the end, say also what I think is the most urgent, because everybody is speaking about the reforms. Ukraine needs a lot of reforms, but what is the most urgent, also from point of view of time, but also from point of view of importance, is fiscal consolidation. Fiscal consolidation, which is necessary precondition for macroeconomic stabilization. Without fiscal consolidation, there will be no macroeconomic stabilization. Without macro stabilization, there will be no good business environment, no investment, no economic growth. Without fiscal consolidation, economy will be not able to solve financial crisis, to stop devaluation, to stop inflation, and to create financial and macroeconomic stability, which is necessary precondition for doing every other reforms, for fighting against corruption, for doing public administration reform, tax reform, and so on and so on. Until now, I think government did good steps in good direction, but not sufficient steps. It is necessary to be more, active and to do much more, especially in the fiscal consolidation. Ukraine has at present about, last year IMF figures are that Ukraine has 53% of public expenditures to GDP. Comparable countries like Slovakia has 38%. Lithuania has 34%. It is necessary to reduce unproductive expenditure, public expenditures, because despite of shortage of money, there is huge wasting of money, overemployment, corruption, bureaucracy, and also deformations and distortions in the prices, for instance. Energy price liberalization has to be one of the most important preconditions for not only for fiscal consolidation, also for fighting against corruption, also for improving business environment, also for creating better conditions for FDI influx, for motivation, for saving energy, for to be more effectively energy efficiency, and so on, so on, so on. Which means I'm optimist in this regard that I met really very qualified people at the top executive position in Ukraine. I met as well a lot of people, mostly young, educated people who are very high professional, who has very, I think, good drive and also knowledge about how to change the matters. I can say that during last 25 years, I spent more than 12 years in the 4 Slovakian governments on different positions, and I met dozens of politicians in abroad as well. And I have to say that your ministers has really potential, because they are very professional, they are very educated, and they have also will and vision how to change the country. I hope that especially communication will be improved, communication between government and parliament, and communication to outside, to the public, to explain people why it is important, and why it is important not because IMF is pushing or others are pushing, but why these measures are important for Ukraine, for improved situation in Ukraine, for to have better life for Ukrainian people. Thank you.
Thank you. Колеги, ваші запитання.
Your questions, dear colleagues, please introduce yourselves.
From the Finnish broadcasting company, I would like to know exactly and more concrete what means fiscal consolidation.
Yeah, very good question. Fiscal consolidation means a reduction of public deficit, especially. Ukrainian public deficit last year was about 12%. This year, until now, what was passed, it could be still too high, about 9–10%, because we have to speak not only about state budget, we have to speak about public finance overall. There is, of course, and there is necessity to significantly reduce public expenditure, especially unproductive public expenditures, where I see the most important areas. First one are energy prices. Subsidies to energy, especially because coal subsidies have been cancelled, but gas subsidies are huge. The energy price subsidies are very costly, and not only costly, they are a huge source of corruption. And without cutting energy price subsidies, it is impossible to have effective fighting against corruption and to have effective business environment. And it is impossible without liberalizing energy prices, it will be impossible to have fiscal consolidation. And as I said, without fiscal consolidation, you can forget for improving the situation. You can forget for stopping devaluation, for stopping inflation, for solving problems in the banking sector. This is simply impossible. Which means energy price liberalization as soon as possible. The best in, of course, it is necessary to respect that end of wind could be better because it will be easier for the people. This step has to be connected also with using part of the saved money for the social measures, especially for most vulnerable, poorest people, to give them subsidies. Also, maybe to create some program for the credits, low interest credits for the people, low credits for the increasing energy efficiency of their houses, their flats, and so on. This is what was done in many countries, also in Slovakia. Without this, as I said, it will be not possible fighting against corruption. The biggest source of corruption, not only in Ukraine, also in other countries, are this arbitrage between low regulated prices and high market prices, which still exist in Ukraine. Second source of the fiscal consolidation are unproductive public expenditures. Ukraine has huge overemployment, overregulation, and a lot of public institutions which are overemployed, and many of them which are not useless, but even are doing wrong things. Which means by cancelling them, you will save money, of course, and you will improve business environment. And especially, I mean, institutions which are giving various types of permissions, regulations, and so on, which are source of big corruption. It means liberalization and deregulation, also by reduction of the number of public institutions and their activities, is one area. Another area in public sector is overemployment at the ministries. When I was finance minister for the first time in 2002, 2003, in 2002-2003, I decided to restructure ministry. I reduced number of employees by 30% at my ministry, and I cancelled one level of management. And my estimate was that at that time in Slovakia, overemployment at the ministries was somewhere between 20 and 50%. It is very important also because very big problem which we heard at every one ministry, at every one institution, was the level of salaries. And the best way, in my opinion, is part of the saved money from the reduction of overemployment use for increased salaries, but not flatly, not the same to everybody, but especially for the key people who are very important for doing all these necessary changes, which means key experts and key managing positions at sector. This is what I did at my ministry. It works really very, very, very well. For a third area are pensions. I know again that pensions are not high, generally incomes are not high in Ukraine, but your share of expenditures, public expenditures to the pensions is at present about 16% of GDP. In comparable countries, it is between 8 and 10% of GDP. I'm not saying that it is necessary to do it flatly, but it will be necessary to do at least the special high pensions, which are oftenly given to the nomenclatura cadres and others. It is possible to cut. And second problem which will be necessary to do is increasing retirement age, pension age. This is something what is also unpopular, but it was done in every transition country, and it is inevitable to do it. Without this, you will have collapse of the public finance, and it is impossible to recover public finance. As you will do it, then, because Ukrainian situation is really difficult and it will be impossible to solve without foreign aid and foreign assistance and foreign credits. IMF negotiations are very important in this regard. But it is impossible to wait that only foreigners and foreign institutions will solve the problem. It is necessary to have both legs. Actions and measures from the Ukraine here at home, and then also contribution from abroad.
Thank you very much. We have no time for another question. Sorry. Thank you very much for coming and your information, Mr. Miklos.
Thank you very much.
Колеги, наш наступний брифінг
Our next briefing will take place in 2 minutes.